Marriage should provide safety. But sometimes the place that promises safety is the place that breaks you the most. This is my story. It's about betrayal, sickness, and a choice no woman should ever be forced to make. I have 4 children. 4 beautiful little people I love with everything I have. I've been married 9 years. For most of those years, my life looked like a tired loop of forgiveness. My husband cheated. I cried. I begged. I forgave. My mother-in-law called me everything under the sun: needy, complainant, ingrate, insecure. She said it like it was my fault I wanted fidelity. Eventually I learned to swallow the anger. I learned to accept it as fate. I learned to pretend I was fine. Then, a few months ago, he started seeing another married woman. Not a flirtation, a full relationship. Her husband came to our door, pleading, begging my husband to stop. My husband didn't. He walked away from that plea the way you walk away from rain, unbothered. Then the strange thing began. My husband started scratching himself. At first it was small, a shameful gesture in the night. But it got worse. The skin broke. It bled. It swelled. He couldn't urinate without pain. What he showed me in the bathroom frightened me: lesions, redness, something that smelled wrong. We went to hospitals, clinics, specialists. They treated him, but it kept getting worse. The flesh began to rot in places. The doctors were blunt but cautious: infection, severe ulceration, complications. They ordered tests. They changed antibiotics. Nothing seemed to stop the rot. My children watched me go back and forth between clinics. We prayed. We prayed until my throat was raw. One day, exhausted and half-broken, I demanded answers. We drove to the mistress's husband, the man who had come begging once before, because I needed the truth. I thought maybe he could tell me something I didn't know. He looked me in the face and said, without shame and with a strange calm that made my skin crawl, "I caused this." He admitted his wife had infected my husband. He also, and this is the part one will never forget, said he could heal him. But there was a cost. "Sleep with me for a week," he said. "Then give me a large sum of money. After that, I'll make sure he gets whatever treatment he needs." Listen to that sentence. Read it again if you need to. He offered a cure in exchange for sex with me. With a stranger. For a week. As if my body were currency, as if my pain, my dignity, and my motherhood were things to be bought and sold. I laughed at him at first. I told him he was mad. I told him to leave. But he wasn't joking. He had a look in his eyes that belonged to men who traffic and barter with people's lives. He named a price. It was obscene. He even suggested my in-laws could pitch in. My in-laws, the same people who had called me names for years, turned their faces toward me and said, "Do it. Save him." They began to gather money. They looked at me like a ledger entry. My husband lay half-rotting in our bedroom and I was suddenly the one holding the ledger. My mother refused. She told them flatly she would not be part of such a thing. She saw it for what it was, an exchange of violence. But the pressure on me grew. Insults. Guilt. The word Christian used like a whip: "How can you let him die? Are you not a good Christian?" I'm not a saint. I'm not a judge. I am a woman with 4 children and a body that is mine, not a commodity. And when they began to offer me money to agree, that was the last straw. You must understand the turmoil. A man you once loved is lying there in danger because of his own choices. Families collapse around him. Your mother begs you to protect your children's future. Your in-laws call you wicked if you refuse. You have fear that if he dies, the children will have no provider, that society will say you were selfish. And then there is the horror of the other choice, to sleep with a stranger for the promise of cure. To sell your body to save a life. To feel your children's hands on you and know they needed money, or a father, and that you traded your dignity for that. There is no easy answer. There are no clean hands in this mess. But here is a twist I want to share, the kind of thing that happened to me after the worst week of my life. I began to ask questions I had been too hurt to ask before. Who is this man, really? What is his record? Is his cure a medical or is it a scam? I asked neighbors, I made discreet calls, I checked public records. The man had a past, rumors of exploiting women, of being involved in shady schemes. The more I looked, the less credible his cure became. He wasn't a healer. He was a blackmailer. A predator who saw a family's terror and tried to turn it into profit. That knowledge changed something in me. It cleared the fog of shame and replaced it with anger. Not the kind that breaks you, but the kind that steadies you. Once I saw the truth, I stopped letting everyone's fear make my decisions for me. I walked into a legal aid center. I talked to a trusted doctor, the specialist who refused to be hurried by gossip and promised to give the right tests and the right treatment without any conditions attached. I reached out to a women's support group and told them everything, even the parts that made me feel dirty to speak aloud. They showed up. They gave me numbers, a plan, and, most importantly, they listened without weighing my dignity on a scale. We stood at the hospital together. We refused to give money to a man who extorted us. We demanded proper medical care. The doctor ordered tests for sexually transmitted infections, aggressive for antibiotics, wound care, surgical debridement where necessary, treatments that, when applied quickly and correctly, gave my husband a real chance at recovery. Was it easy? No. Did it cost us? Yes. But it did not cost me my body. It did not force my children's mother into a room with a stranger. My husband recovered, over time. It was not an overnight miracle. We had scars, physical and emotional. The marriage is different now. I am different. We had to face the harm of what he did and decide whether we would build something new out of the ruins, or walk separate paths. I chose my children first. I chose my body second. I chose to teach them that some things are not negotiable. People asked me later, would you have slept with him if it saved your husband? My answer was simple and no. I refused to normalize extortion. I refused to believe my body was ever currency. There are things love should never ask you to pay. If you're hearing this and you've ever been cornered into making an impossible choice, whether by a lover, by family, or by society, know this, there are other paths, and asking for help is not betrayal. Call a friend. Call a lawyer. Call a women's shelter. Call a doctor who will not commodify your suffering. You are not meant to carry the ledger alone. And to anyone who thinks a woman should sell herself for a man's mistakes, you are wrong. Dignity is not a bargaining chip. I told you my story because it was mine to tell. Maybe you'd do the same. Maybe you'd do something different. If you were in my shoes, what would you choose? Thank you for listening. Do share with friends and loved ones. Please subscribe to our channel.